Imagine driving along a quiet highway and coming across a chilling discovery. This was the reality for Massachusetts in the late 1980s. The tranquility of Interstate 195 was shattered as the resting places of victims were stumbled upon, one after another. Between March 1988 and April 1989, the peaceful scenery along the highway turned into a grim canvas painted with the echoes of violence. In this period, a series of tragic events unraveled, shaking the core of Massachusetts. The victims were primarily women living on the periphery of society, sex workers or those grappling with addiction. Their vulnerability made them an easy target, their lives cut short by an unknown assailant. They were found discarded along the highway, their final resting places far from the bright city lights. 9 women were brutally taken from this world, their bodies discovered along the stretches of the Massachusetts Interstate 195 highway. But the horror didn't stop there. 2 more women, just as vulnerable, just as human, vanished. Their fates remained shrouded in mystery, their stories untold. These were not just victims of a heinous crime, but daughters, sisters, and mothers. Their lives were intertwined with others, their absence leaving a void that could never be filled. Every life lost was a tragedy, every disappearance a heart-wrenching mystery. These women, whose lives were tragically cut short, were part of the fabric of Massachusetts. They were a part of its community, its life, and its story. Their tragic end would spark a quest for justice that would span across years and touch countless lives. 9 lives were tragically lost, and 2 more women disappeared, their fates unknown. This was the unsettling discovery that marked the beginning of a mystery that still haunts Massachusetts to this day. In the face of such heinous crimes, the media and the public were desperate for answers. As the chilling tale of the Interstate 195 killings unfolded, the media was rife with speculation and theories. Among the names that emerged in the whirlwind of coverage were 2 men, Anthony DeGrazia and Kenneth Ponte. Anthony DeGrazia was a construction worker, an everyday man whose name was thrust into the limelight as a potential suspect. The media painted a picture of a man who could blend into society, yet possibly harbored a dark secret. However, as the investigation deepened, the evidence against DeGrazia began to wane. Despite the media's voracious appetite for a resolution, DeGrazia was never indicted. A tragic end to his story was penned when he was found dead, a suicide according to the district attorney's office, though his family disputed this. Kenneth Ponte, a New Bedford attorney, was another name that dominated the headlines. The media's portrayal of Ponte was one of intrigue and suspicion. An attorney, a person sworn to uphold the law, implicated in such monstrous acts? The irony was not lost on the public. Ponte was indeed indicted for the murder of one of the victims, but the charges were dropped due to lack of evidence. The media's narrative of Ponte as a potential killer ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. Despite the fervor and speculation, the media's suspects were not brought to justice. The lack of conclusive evidence left the public with a sense of unease and the haunting question of who was responsible for these horrific crimes. The media, for all its theories and conjecture, was left grappling with an unresolved mystery. While the media had their suspects, the evidence was not there to bring any of them to justice. Behind every crime, there are the victims, the ones who suffer the most. These are not just names or statistics, but human beings, each with their own stories, families, and dreams tragically cut short. The New Bedford highway killings claimed the lives of at least 9 women, and 2 more disappeared, never to be seen again. The victims were primarily known sex workers or women struggling with addiction, targeted by a predator who exploited their vulnerabilities. Let's remember them, not as victims, but as people. Each one of them had a name, a face, a life. Each one of them was someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone's loved one. Their loss left a void in the lives of those who knew them, a void that can never be filled. While it's important to respect the privacy of the victims and their families, it's equally crucial to recognize their humanity. The media has released some names, and we honor them here. We remember them not for how they died, but for who they were in life. However, it's also essential to remember the 2 women who disappeared during that same period, their fates unknown. Though they may not have met the same tragic end as the others, they too are victims of this terrible crime spree, their lives irrevocably changed. Each of these women had stories, families, and lives that were cut tragically short. Their lives mattered, their stories matter. And as we delve into the chilling details of these crimes, we must never lose sight of that. The scope of these crimes was not limited to one city or one highway. Indeed, The geographical context of the case paints a chilling picture of an expansive hunting ground. The horrifying saga unfolded across several Massachusetts cities, with the primary stage being New Bedford, a city known for its rich maritime history, which unfortunately also became a backdrop for these heinous crimes. The victims were mainly from New Bedford, their lives tragically intertwined with the city's darker side. However, the killer did not limit his actions to the confines of this city. The bodies were discovered strewn along the Interstate 195 highway, a stretch of road connecting multiple cities and towns. The killer showed a horrifying familiarity with the area, choosing isolated spots in surrounding towns to dump the bodies. The towns of Dartmouth and Freetown bore the brunt of these gruesome discoveries. These locations were often secluded off the beaten path, suggesting a calculated decision to delay discovery and hamper investigations. In this geographical maze, the suspects also had their roots. For instance, Anthony DeGrazia, a construction worker, hailed from the area. Another suspect, Kenneth Ponte, was a New Bedford attorney, deeply embedded in the local fabric. Their proximity to the crime scene served to intensify the suspicion around them. The geographical reach of this case was vast, extending from the urban landscape of New Bedford to the quieter towns along the highway. This extensive range only served to amplify the terror, as the killer seemed to strike with a terrifying unpredictability, unhindered by city limits or geographical boundaries. The vast reach of this case only added to the fear and uncertainty of the time. Despite the passage of time, the case remains unresolved. As the years have passed, the New Bedford highway killings have turned into a chilling cold case, the haunting echoes of the victims still seeking justice. The lead investigator, John Dextradur, and his team have faced a series of dead ends and disappointments. Yet, they persist, hoping that one day, the truth will out. In an unexpected twist, in 2015, a man named Daniel Thomas Tavares Jr., already serving time for other heinous crimes, made a startling claim. He asserted that he was the one responsible for the highway killings. However, this claim has yet to be substantiated, and the police continue their search for irrefutable evidence. The quest for justice is ongoing. The memories of the victims refuse to fade, and the resolve of the investigators remains unbroken. Yet, the identity of the person behind these horrific crimes is still shrouded in darkness. As of now, the identity of the New Bedford highway killer remains a mystery. As we delve into these dark chapters of history, we do not forget the human cost. Each story we explore is a reminder of lives lost and families forever marked by tragedy. We look into these cases not out of morbid curiosity, but out of a deep-seated desire for justice, for answers, and for closure. We invite you to join us in this quest for truth. If you found this video insightful, please give it a like and subscribe to Life After Prison TV. We have many more stories to share, stories that need to be heard, stories that continue to seek justice just like this one. And to the victims and their families, we extend our deepest condolences. Your pain is not forgotten, your loss is not in vain. Through these stories, we remember, we honor, and we keep the search for truth alive. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and keep seeking the truth.